Hey friends, if you have access to the kube config file for your AKS cluster, you also have access to the API server to create resources or scale the number of nodes. Now that API server should only be accessible from a limited set of IP address ranges. So Ruchika is here to show us how to restrict which IP addresses and CIDRs can access the control plane. I'm learning how today on Azure Friday. Hey friends, I'm Scott Hanselman and it's Azure Friday. I'm here with Ruchika Gupta, an engineer on AKS, and you're going to show me how to make things more secure with my API server on AKS.
Yes, that's right, Scott. So by default, if anyone has your kube config, you can access your AKS cluster from anywhere, be it your office network, your home, or even the Starbucks store near you.
Really? So like by default, that is the keys to the castle. That config file allows you to do anything you want.
So that's right, but that's not the only thing. So you also have security from Azure login, and then you can have RBAC policies set up, which will control your role-based access. And then you can also use Azure AD for only specific users to be able to access the API server.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say that this is about a layered approach to security.
Yes, that is right. So it's an additional security that you can add to your AKS clusters with the existing securities that we have.
So there's Kubernetes security and how Kubernetes manages things. There's how the Azure RBAC and role-based access control system works, and then there's the network level.
Yes, that's right. So using this, you can specify what all IP ranges can have access to your AKS cluster. You can specify only this network, only my office network has access to these AKS clusters.
So I might not want someone at Starbucks doing this. Maybe I want just a virtual network or a VPN in authorized users.
Yes, that's right. So generally, your organizations want an additional level of security where they say, okay, these clusters should be accessible only from my work IP addresses.
Right. So this is making sure that people don't even get close to the actual control plane. We nail them right when they come in.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so you've got an AKS cluster already running right here?
Yes. So as you can see, I have an Azure Friday resource group created, and I have an Azure Friday Kubernetes cluster created on this.
All right, so there's the resource group.
Yeah, so here's the cluster. Now we'll go ahead and get the credentials for this cluster using AZ login.
Okay.
So I've already done the AZ login, and we'll go ahead and type in the AKS get credentials and specify the resource group and the resource name. And this will give you the kube config file and set it to the current context.
Okay.
So once this is done, you should be able to access the API server using any kube control commands. So just to give an example, I'll do a get nodes. This should succeed, and yeah, so it returned you the 3 nodes that this cluster currently has.
So if I can make sure I understand, and this is a good reminder because I'm learning Kubernetes, a lot of the people who are watching are learning Kubernetes. Azure has APIs of its own at the Azure level. The Azure portal uses those APIs. And then Kubernetes has this API server and how Kubernetes talks to things. And when you're doing AZ AKS, you're talking to Azure.
Yes.
But when you're using kubectl, kubectl, you're not talking to Azure per se, you're talking to the Kubernetes API server.
Yes, that is right. So the control plane of your AKS cluster is the API server, and which is the managed resource that Azure provides you. So in order to talk to the API server, you need to use the kube control commands.
Okay, that makes sense. And it's good to remember and remind me that AKS is Kubernetes. It's just really Kubernetes. It's a managed Kubernetes system.
Yes, that's right. So we just provide you the API server that you don't have to manage anymore, and you can make use of VMSS to scale your clusters, to scale your nodes, and then you can use all the other network policies that Azure provides in order to secure your clusters, and like other Azure products in order to incorporate them with the existing clusters.
Okay, you said VMSS, virtual machine scale sets.
Yes, that is right. So you can use the VMSS as nodes to your cluster if you want to scale them to 10 or 50 or scale down to 1.
Right.
So that's how it makes it easy.
So you just called kubectl get nodes. So we have 3 nodes running right now, and we're just here at the office, and they're available anywhere. The IP address range is open.
Yes. So as you saw, I just did a get credentials, and it was able to give me the nodes. So if I go back to my Cloud Shell and use the same command, we should expect a similar behavior because right now the API server is publicly accessible.
Okay.
So I'll just use the same command. I'll do a easy AKS get credentials, specify.
Hit escape. There you go.
Specify the IP address, specify the resource group.
All right.
And specify the resource name, which is our AKS cluster in this case. And this will give you the same kubeconfig file. Once we have the kubeconfig file in context, we can do a get nodes. And this should return you the same set of nodes.
All right, proving that it is in fact available from everywhere because a Cloud Shell runs in Azure on a totally different place. It's not your local machine.
That is right.
Okay.
So if you look at the IP address of my Cloud Shell, it's this. And if you look at the local command prompt's IP address, it would be a different IP address.
Gotcha.
So if I do an IP config, and it'll show me
inside
a
of
different,
Microsoft.
yeah. So this has a different IP address. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and update my AKS cluster to have access only from Cloud Shell IP. So what I'll do is use the AZ AKS update command and update the existing cluster that I have. The additional parameter that's important here is the API server authorized IP ranges, which will actually restrict access from the specified IP addresses. So here I'll provide the IP address of my Cloud Shell. As you can see, I have queried it in the query before. So this will take a while for the command to run.
Okay. So at this point, AZ AKS is calling Azure APIs that are an extension to the AKS, because AZ is the Azure Cloud Shell CLI, AKS is a subcommand, and then this is the parameter api-server-authorized-IP address ranges. You're not telling that to Kubernetes though, right? This is the Azure networking plane.
Yes, that is right. That's a very good question. So this is all in the Azure VNet because your API server is hosted in Azure subscriptions, in Azure resource groups, which are managed by the AKS service.
Gotcha. And you said it would take a little while to run. What's happening when things take a little while, like in this case, 10 or 20 seconds? What's really happening?
Oh, yeah. So what we do is your API server resides in a different VNet, which is inside AKS resource groups. And essentially, we create a network security group rule specifying the source IP address as the one that you specified in the command here. And the destination IP address is the address of your API server. So that way, it will restrict network traffic only from these IP addresses to your API server, and rest all would be blocked.
Now it sounds like that, it's finished already right there. And you can see it says pod CIDR and service CIDR, and it's got some ranges there, and then a little higher up, there's your authorized IP address ranges.
Yes, so this is the thing that got introduced as part of that command. So as you can see, the authorized IP ranges now has the IP address that I provided. So if I go ahead and do a kube control get nodes, we should expect that this command prompt has access to the API server since we just whitelisted it. So this should work. This should give me the same result as before. Now if I go ahead and type in the same command on my local command prompt, this should be restricted. Okay, so sometimes it takes a little while for it to be applied because these are the NSG rules that are getting applied.
The NSG, the Network Security Groups.
Group rules that are getting applied.
Okay.
So
we
while
can wait
this
a minute and then in a
so
few
you can
seconds try
generally
again.
you can just get a coffee and come back, and it would be.
Is this kind of like propagation? You know how they always say it's always DNS? It's usually because something is propagating through the system?
Yes, that is true. Yeah. While this updates, I can just talk about all the options that you have with your IP ranges parameter.
Okay.
So, like you see here, I just provided one IP address. In general, in production systems, you have multiple IP addresses that you want to whitelist. So you can provide a comma-separated list of IP addresses, or you can also provide a list of IP addresses using the CIDR notation.
Right, that's the classless interdomain routing, and that's where you see like the slash at the end of an IP address.
That's right. So /28. So that will give you 16 IP addresses. So, and also if you want to provide access only from your AKS nodes, you can specify 0.0.0/32.
Really?
So that will restrict all access from any public network. Only your AKS nodes will be able to access the API server.
Could I hurt myself with this feature? Could I accidentally lock myself out of my own system entirely?
Yes, you can. But you have a very easy way of turning it off. So all you need to do is do double quotes. So this will disable your feature.
Uh-oh, I think you're going to disable it before we have it working.
No, so let's do it before. Let's just query.
Oh, so
and
here's
make
our
sure.
failure.
Yeah.
This is not going to work.
Yeah, so this should basically time out. And we'll wait for a second before it shows you the error.
Right, and this is timing out because it's being blocked at the network level. It's not a permissions thing. It's just the network port doesn't even exist. It's not there to be seen.
That is right. So the network access is prohibited from your network security rules. So your traffic packet is not even able to talk to the API server.
Right, so as far as it's concerned, it doesn't even exist. The connected party did not even respond. It doesn't exist.
Yes, so that is what will be the expected result. So this will give you an additional level of security on your AKS clusters.
And then when you went back to the portal, when you said quote, quote, what you're doing here is you're turning it off, right?
Yes.
And when I asked you, can I lock myself out entirely? I might lock myself out of Kubernetes accidentally, easily fixed, but I didn't lock myself out of Azure management, and that's really important to note.
Yes, you cannot lock yourself out of that as long as you have the correct permissions to access the resource group and the subscription.
Very cool. So, and there you go. Now it's done, and it's gone and updated itself, and of course that'll propagate, and we'll be able to do that again.
And if you look at the authorized IP ranges, so this was the API server access profile in which the authorized IP ranges section existed.
Right.
And as you see right now, it's null. So that means the property, the rule has been deleted, and now it has access from all public networks.
So do people who use AKS have this feature available today?
Yes, that is available. So we made a GA last year during Ignite, and you can use AZ login or like AZ commandlets to do it. You can also use your SDK, your Terraform SDK, or your Golang SDK to do the same thing. Right now, it's not available in Portal, but we'll be rolling that out soon.
Right, because the portal uses the APIs that we build, so we build it from the bottom up and make those available as a UI.
Yes, that's right.
Very cool. I am learning all about how to restrict my AKS clusters by IP address and IP address range here on Azure Friday.